that it's just rare that,
Sure. They don't kill cells.
They don't kill people.
Kill you. Right. Exactly. Right.
Always with the caveat, if you're 85 and you're in bad health, you might want to go lightly first. But even people in those states, they're pretty safe,
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for answering those questions.
Sure.
Thank you, Wang Shen. Ground Rod will have the next question.
Dennis, it's a great honor to have you speak with us tonight. Thank you very much for doing that.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Good.
My question here is promoting the preservation of the knowledge, plants and mushrooms involved in your research locally, scattered across the globe, is something many of us here on the forum would like to be a part of. To my surprise, in the late 80s, I discovered a world-famous orchid prize winner growing and breeding his plants out of a small greenhouse in a harsh winter area of south central Montana. Please share with us your current thoughts on how to best go about this and what we would need to get started. I think that's a key point of this question is how people could get started preserving this. Particularly, I'm interested in what and how that might be done in cold climate areas because of where I've chosen to live. But any thoughts on this or other climate setting requirements would be greatly appreciated.
Sure. Are you living in Montana?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Even colder than Minnesota.
Yeah, I was down in the low 20s this morning.
Oh, my God. Here, it's been 80 today. It's been fantastic. But anyway, to your question, there's a lot of things that people can do. I mean, the broader issue is how do we preserve not only the biodiversity, but the knowledge that goes along with it, because they really go hand in hand, right? If you destroy these habitats, you destroy the habitats are also the places where the people that know about these plants live. So you destroy the habitats, you destroy their culture, and you destroy their knowledge very quickly. How do you preserve it? Boy, that is the $64,000 question. I don't know. There are many approaches to it. Part of it is just, I think one of the most powerful things we can do is to share our knowledge with other people, with our compatriots and people that have this interest. Like if you're a gardener and you like to grow plants, maybe you have a greenhouse or something, grow those plants and give them away to other people and teach other people how to grow them. The beautiful thing about plants is usually you can grow them from cuttings. And I really feel that, one of the best things a person can do, especially with psychedelic plants, is share them with your friends. I mean, do what gardeners have always done, right? Which is to, across the back fences, give away your cuttings, give away your seeds, and if it's a medicinal plant, teach people how to prepare those things and how to use them. I mean, I think that's invaluable. It's not just the indigenous people that have the knowledge. It's people like yourself, and gardeners and plant people all over the place. We're all part of this collective, global community of trying to preserve these species and this knowledge. And I really think that that's one of the best things you can do is just grow the plants that interest you, get other people enthused about them. There are horticultural societies, there are mycological societies, there are all these kind of local things where basically, plant enthusiasts or mushroom enthusiasts get together to talk about what they're interested in, and it doesn't have to be all psychedelics. It's all plant knowledge. Now, having said that, there's a few other things. I've been working for the last couple of years. Well, I've been working in the Amazon for quite a long time. but in the last couple of years, we have started a project. I'm working with Kathleen Harrison, Kat Harrison, who's Terrance's ex-wife, but also an ethnobotanist in her own right. And she and I have initiated a project. She has a nonprofit organization called Botanical Dimensions, which Terrance and Kat established back in the mid-'80s. But Botanical Dimensions still exists. It's still a nonprofit. And we've started a project with the university in Iquitos, where we do a lot of our field work, to digitize their herbarium, right? They have a very nice herbarium there. They have about 100,000 specimens. And nobody knows about this place. You know, it's just a podunk university lost in the Amazon someplace. And what we're trying to do is scan all of their specimens, make high-resolution scans of their collections, and put those images out on the web as an open-source database, link those images with whatever's published about their traditional uses, anything that's known about their chemistry or their pharmacology, their other properties. So essentially create this database around what they call the AMAZ, the AMAZ herbarium, put that out on the web so anybody anywhere in the world can look at it. And that's a way to preserve this information. You know, it's a way to give tools to researchers that, they can go in and look at those specimens for whatever purpose. They can, it doesn't have to be for medicinal purposes. It can be, for vegetation mapping or looking at species distributions or whatever they want to look at. So that's what we're trying to do in a very small way, is get that digital herbarium up. And
huge undertaking.
It is. It's
important work, though. It sounds like
it's important work. It's much more complicated than we thought when we went into it, as these things tend to be. We went into it very naively, thinking that the important thing was to scan the images and put that out there. And that is important, but another aspect of it, and the more boring part, is we actually have to look at all the collection data, all the labels for each specimen, and make sure that it is accurate and that it matches the Missouri Botanical Garden, which is kind of where all these collections are also reflected. It's like a mirror site to it. Well, the Missouri Botanical Garden is global, of course, but all the collections in the AMAZ herbarium are also at Mobot, and but there are mistakes. Inevitably, there are mistakes that creep into the data. So we've got a lot of Peruvian graduate students in biology who are combing through these specimens and making sure that the information's accurate. So it's good for them. I mean, it's kind of like a little work study project for them. Modest, we pay modest stipends. I mean, really modest stipends, but they're glad to have it, and we're slowly, accumulating this information. So that's one of the ways, and we're a nonprofit. Botanical Dimensions is a nonprofit, so people can support it if they want. That's one way you can support it.
Right.
We're not very good at fundraising,
Well, now on Kickstarter here, you did good with the book. That worked out.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, that was different. But Botanical Dimensions isn't very good, and partly because, I've been after cats for a long time can't you at least set up a website? We don't even have a website.
Put up a Kickstarter on it.
Well, we've thought about that actually, and that may be one way. That may be one way to approach it. But we really need to have a website where people can, if they want to learn what we're doing, they can go to the website. They can make a tax-deductible donation if they want to. We don't even have that mechanism, but
Right.
we're working on it. I mean, we're going to. Part of the funding that we got for this project is to set up a website and start to, create a mechanism to keep the funding going. We have funding to start this project and for 3 years. Once that money is spent, we have to have some way to keep it going.
Oh, it sounds like wonderful work there, Dennis. Thanks for that info. I guess those of us in cold climates might be best off looking at preserving mushrooms, spores, and the idea of being able to produce a ayahuasca brew out of your little greenhouse out back isn't a realistic idea then.
Well, not necessarily, though. I mean, there are, one of the ideas that we had, early on, you can make ayahuasca borealis if you want. Some people have tried this, because DMT is pretty widespread in plants, and beta carbolines are pretty widespread in plants. And, with a little bit of research, you can come up with ayahuasca analogs, and people do. Like using, for example, the phalaris grasses or Desmanthus illinoiensis is another plant that grows throughout the Midwest that's quite high in DMT. So people, can try and prepare these analogs to ayahuasca, and they do work. I mean, they work, but they're not exactly the same, of course, but they do the job.
Wonderful. There's so many possibilities. Thanks for giving us a head start on some of it. Thank you very much, Dennis.
Okay.
Thank you, Ground Rod. Our next question is from Neil.
Yes, Dennis, it's a pleasure to meet you. Years ago, others and myself made a water offering from a gallon of water that was gathered by Manly P. Hall before the Second World War, when there was no radioactivity in the ocean. The elder I was with was the eventual recipient of this and was told to give it to the ocean to help her remember who she was. This is like giving a homeopathic remedy to the ocean, or more directly, my question to you is, in your communications with the plant world, do you communicate with the water spirits of the oceans? I've heard that people can talk to the mushroom beings. What, if anything, can we do to help that along?
With the water spirits,
I would say.
and specifically with the ocean spirits.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The short answer is I don't know. But it's interesting that you bring this up, because the ocean spirits, I'm not sure how you would approach that. But in the Amazon with ayahuasca, there is a whole mythology around the dolphins and the rivers, and they as part of the cosmology, they understand that underneath the river there is a whole parallel world, right? There are entities down there, and they have a lot of myths about, fishermen out on the river will see a beautiful woman, a mermaid actually, and that person will entice them to follow them, and the next thing they know, they're being abducted taken under the waves, under the water, and then they live there, with this alternative community. I mean, this is very much part of the Amazonian mythology, and the ayahuasqueros will tell you that there are actually specific plant admixtures that they use, that they add to ayahuasca, that helps them go underwater, go into these